My name is Lauren Avery. I'm 35 years old, and until 3 weeks ago, I thought I understood what family meant. I thought loyalty was about showing up, about staying, even when it's hard. But nothing prepares you for the moment you're holding a hand that's slowly going cold, and realizing you're the only one who came. Evelyn Grant, my mother-in-law, passed away at 4:06 p.m. on a rainy Thursday. The sky outside her hospital window was bruised grey. Inside, it was just me. No Mike, no Jenna, just the quiet hiss of oxygen and the persistent beep-beep of a heart monitor. Until suddenly, there was one long flat tone. She died with her eyes closed, and no one even knew I was there. It wasn't always like this. Years ago, Evelyn used to be the family matriarch, sharp-tongued, polished, fiercely private. We were never close. She was polite in that distant, old-school way, always hosting with crystal glasses in perfect posture, never hugging, never opening up. But when her health started declining, when the tremors started, when she needed help dressing, when she couldn't remember what day it was, Mike and Jenna both checked out. They told themselves it was too hard. They had schedules. So the burden, quietly, fell to me. 3 days, I sat beside her hospital bed while she drifted in and out, whispering names of people long gone. Not once did Mike ask if I needed anything. When I texted Jenna that Evelyn had taken a turn, she left it on read. And then, on that final afternoon, Evelyn squeezed my hand, just once, before the machines fell silent. Nurse came in not long after. She'd been gentle with Evelyn, never rushed her, always addressed her as Ms. Grant, even when Evelyn couldn't remember her own name. She placed something in my hands, a cream-coloured envelope, thick and sealed. She asked me to give this to you. The nurse said softly, "Only you." I held it like it might crumble. My fingers were shaking. We had never shared secrets. Evelyn and I never talked about anything deeper than dinner plans or gardenias. And yet, this was for me. Inside the envelope was a single sheet of heavy paper. Taped to the top was a small bronze key. Underneath, in sharp, unmistakable script, they chose absence. Now they will know what that costs. An address. Nothing else. I stared at the words. The key. The address. To 141 Cedar Brook Lane, as the nurse gently squeezed my shoulder. I didn't cry. I didn't feel much of anything. Not yet. But something in my chest shifted. Something subtle and deep. I gathered Evelyn's few belongings. Her wedding ring. A paperback novel. Silk scarf that still smelled faintly of her perfume. And stepped out into the rain. People around me were hugging their family members, sharing tears, making plans. I walked alone to my car, the key cold in my hand. That night, Mike barely looked up from his laptop. She passed, I said quietly, standing in the kitchen doorway. He blinked. Wait, really? Then? What time? Then? Damn. Did they say when the service is? That was it. No hug. No. Are you okay? Not even a pause. I stared at him. This was his mother. But I didn't say anything. I just turned and walked upstairs, clutching the key. The next morning, I left at sunrise, without telling him where I was going. He didn't ask. The GPS led me out of the city, through suburbs, then past old farms and winding to lane roads. Cedar Brook Lane was barely visible, a cracked street sign swallowed by ivy, an overgrown gravel path, almost hidden behind wild hedges. The key fit the gate perfectly. Beyond it stood a cottage that looked like it had once been loved, and then completely forgotten. Its white paint had chipped down to wood. Wild honeysuckle climbed the walls, like it was trying to keep the house alive. But it wasn't abandoned. Not really. I stepped inside, and the scent hit me. Cedar, old books, dust, something floral. Time itself seemed to pause. The furniture was all there. The curtains were drawn halfway. A tea kettle sat on the stove. An old radio hummed, with static, in the corner. This wasn't a getaway. This was a home. And on the kitchen table sat another envelope. This one addressed to Mr. Harold Dunning, estate attorney, to be opened only upon my death. I froze. Evelyn had planned all of this. Carefully. Deliberately. Why me? I sat at the table, slowly tracing the grain of the old oak wood. It was scratched. Lived in. Like meals had been eaten here. Lives discussed. Quiet tears shed. This place was real. Not a sterile facility. Not an afterthought. This is where Evelyn had lived. And she had made sure I would find it. The letter to the lawyer. The key. The house itself. It wasn't an inheritance. It was a message. A secret entrusted only to me. I stayed there for hours. Didn't even notice the time pass. It felt like the house wanted me there. Like it had been waiting. When I finally drove back into town, the letter safely in my purse, the sun was setting. I pulled into our driveway, and Mike didn't even look up from his phone as I walked in. I said only one thing. I have to drop something off at Evelyn's lawyer's office tomorrow morning. Mike shrugged. Cool, you need the car, or... I shook my head. No, I'll take mine. But inside, something had changed. Evelyn had left something behind. And whatever it was meant for me, not Mike, not Jenna. I arrived at the law office just before 9 a.m., letter in hand. It was a quiet, red brick building, nestled on a corner of downtown, that hadn't yet been overtaken by high rises and glass. The sign on the door read, Harold Dunning, attorney at law, estate planning, wills, trusts. A woman with silver blonde hair and calm eyes greeted me. You must be Lauren Avery, she said, with a kind smile. Mr. Dunning is expecting you. The waiting room was still, just the faint ticking of a wall clock and the smell of coffee and old files. I sat down across from an empty chair and realized my hands were shaking again. It wasn't nerves. It was weight. The weight of something unsaid. When Mr. Dunning finally entered, he looked exactly like someone who'd been handling family secrets for 40 years. Neat suit, glasses perched on his nose, and a voice, like a whisper against wood. I understand you were with Evelyn in her final hours, he said, not unkindly. I nodded. She gave the nurse a letter, told her to give it to me. It was addressed to you. I slid it across the table. He opened it carefully, scanning the contents in complete silence. Then, he pulled a manila folder from his drawer and placed it on the desk between us. This, he said, tapping the folder, is Evelyn Grant's updated last will and testament, notarized and filmed 2 months ago in this very office. She insisted on making one change, a rather significant one. I swallowed. She left her entire estate, the Cedar Brook property, all bank accounts, stocks, personal belongings, to you, not her son, not her daughter, you. My throat went dry. There must be a mistake. I just cared for her. I didn't expect. There's no mistake, he said gently. Evelyn was very clear. She even left a video statement explaining why. Would you like to see it? I nodded slowly. He pressed play on a small monitor. Evelyn appeared on screen, sitting in a high-backed chair with a calm expression. Her hands were folded in her lap. She looked directly at the camera. If you're watching this, then I'm gone, she said plainly. And that's fine. I've made my peace. But I want to explain why I chose to leave everything to Lauren. She paused. My son and daughter. They stopped seeing me a long time ago. Oh, they called when they needed something. Sent flowers on birthdays. But it was Lauren who sat with me when I couldn't sleep. Lauren who brought me soup when I didn't ask. Lauren who looked me in the eye like I still mattered. She leaned slightly forward. I'm not doing this to punish Mike or Jenna. I'm doing this because Lauren showed up. Because I want someone kind and steady to carry my story. Because I know what it feels like to be invisible. The video ended. The silence that followed was heavy. Mr. Dunning looked at me carefully. This may cause conflict, he said. I am obligated to notify the family. There may be an attempt to contest. But Evelyn anticipated that. She left supporting documents, journals, medical evaluations, a psychiatric clearance, all legally sound. I felt something tighten in my chest. Not fear, clarity. I'm not after her money, I said. I just want to understand why she chose me. She left one more thing, he added, sliding over a smaller envelope. It was cream-colored like the first one, with my name written in bold, looping cursive. Inside was a single line. When they ask why, don't explain. When they beg, don't soften. You owe them nothing, but you owe yourself everything. When I left the law office, Mike was waiting outside by my car. His arms were crossed. His jaw was tight. So, he said, his voice low, you really went through with it. I stared at him. Went through with what? You and your little private meeting with her lawyer, he snapped. Did she give you money? The house. What? You think you earned it because you played nurse for a few months? I didn't ask for anything, I said. She made a choice. Mike scoffed. She was sick. Confused. No, I said quietly. She was more lucid in that video than I've seen her in years. He stared at me, and for the first time, I saw it. Not anger, not confusion, but fear. The house, the money, the truth. It was slipping away from him, and he had no idea how to control it. I didn't give him the satisfaction of a fight. I just got into my car and drove back to Cedar Brook, back to the place where Evelyn had spent her last real years. Not the hospital, not the facility Mike dumped her in, but here, among wildflowers and creaky floorboards and dusty sunlight. That evening, I lit the fireplace and sat cross-legged on the floor. I had found an old trunk in the hallway closet. Inside were dozens of leather-bound journals, each labeled with a year. I opened the one from last year. The first entry was dated March 9th. Lauren brought me soup today. She doesn't know I haven't eaten since Friday. I didn't tell her. She just knew. I read for hours. Every entry told a story. Some quiet, some heartbreaking. Mike called to say Jenna's engagement party is next week. Didn't invite me. Said it would be too much for me. But I'm fine. I'm fine. Jenna said I should sell the cottage. She called it a money pit. I told her it wasn't for sale. I had a dream about Ben last night. He was sitting at the kitchen table, telling me it's okay to be lonely if it means you didn't lie to yourself. By midnight, I had read 5 full journals, and it became clear. Evelyn hadn't chosen me for convenience. She had chosen me because I saw her, even when I didn't realize I was seeing her. She had left this house, this legacy, not for revenge, but for clarity, for truth. And now, that truth was in my hands. The sun had just started sinking behind the trees when I unlocked the front door of Miriam's house. My house now, though that still felt impossible to believe. The place was cold, silent, still full of her perfume, faint and sweet. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid of it. I carried her letter like it was fragile glass, folded and creased, with edges smudged from my fingers. I hadn't opened it yet. I sat down on the armchair in the corner of her sunroom, the one she used to read in for hours. The sky outside had turned a soft, dusty pink, and in that hush of coming nightfall, I finally unfolded the envelope. Her handwriting was shaky, but unmistakable. Dear Clara, that name. It had been so long since she'd said it with warmth. I felt tears sting immediately. I'm writing this before my hands give up on me completely. I want to say this while I still can, and I hope you'll forgive me for all the ways I didn't say it while I was alive. I saw you. I saw everything. The way my son treated you. The way you swallowed pain like it was your duty. And I hated myself for not stepping in. But the truth is, I was a coward. I was raised to believe women endure, that we keep quiet, that we don't ruin a man's name, even when he's the one doing the ruining. I sat completely still, not even breathing. You didn't take him from me, Clara. I lost him long ago, to his own father's bitterness, and to my silence. But you were the only one who showed him love when he didn't deserve it. And for that, I owe you a lifetime of apologies. So this house, it's yours. It always should have been. It's not a gift. It's a debt. A way to make peace with the parts of me that failed you. And I hope that someday, when the pain dulls, you'll walk through these rooms and feel free. You don't owe anyone anything anymore. You earned your peace. You were never just my daughter-in-law. You were the daughter I never had the courage to claim. With all the love I didn't show you in life, Miriam, the tears came harder than I expected. Not out of grief, but relief. For years, I had begged for someone to see me, to understand that behind the polite smile and bruised heart, I was drowning. And somehow, all this time, Miriam had known. Maybe she didn't have the strength to intervene. Maybe she was scared. But in the end, she gave me something I never imagined I'd get from anyone in that family. Truth. The next day, I returned with cleaning gloves, garbage bags, and a quiet sense of determination. The house hadn't been touched since the day she died. I started in the kitchen, scrubbing the cabinets, emptying out old spices she'd never use again. I took my time in every room. It wasn't just cleaning, it was claiming. I found a box in the back of her closet. Letters, journals, receipts for donations made anonymously in my name. There were scribbled notes beside newspaper articles about women's shelters. An old Polaroid of me and her at a garden party years ago, back when things were still good. Tucked at the bottom was another envelope, not addressed, just marked, for Clara when she's ready. Inside was a bank statement and the deed to a small cottage in Maine, fully paid off, in my name. She had bought it the year I married Ethan. She'd been preparing an escape route for me all along. I think that broke me more than anything else. She had loved me, quietly, regretfully, but firstly, in her own way. Weeks passed. Ethan tried to contact me. Voicemails, texts, one angry letter from a lawyer that never turned into anything. I never answered. The house became mine, slowly. I painted the walls, replaced the curtains, planted rosemary and lavender in the front garden. I didn't sell it. I didn't run. I stayed. Because for the first time in my life, I didn't need to go anywhere to feel safe. One morning, I opened the windows and let the summer air drift through the hallways. I stood in the sunroom, the same chair, the same soft light, and held a cup of coffee in the exact way Miriam used to. And I smiled, not because everything had been fixed, but because something had finally been set right. Because one woman's courage, even if it came too late, was enough to change the direction of another's life. Because I wasn't invisible anymore. And because in the quiet, in the stillness of this house, I could finally hear the voice I had silenced for too long, my own. And she was saying, "You made it."